What's up, people? So HTC just announced their 8X Windows Phone flagship device, and let's talk about how it stacks up against the Lumia 920 and the iPhone 5. First of all would be the display, most obvious. The 8X comes in with a 4.3-inch display versus the Lumia 920's 4.5 and the iPhone's 4. I don't think this is much of a comparison spec. It all comes down to the feel. From a 4-inch to a 4.3, you really won't notice a difference. It's about how the device is really designed and feels in your hand. From a 4.3 to a 4.5, still not much of a difference. It just comes down to how it feels in your hand. As far as resolution goes, the HTC 8X comes in at a 720p, which is fine, which is actually spec'd very nice. The Lumia comes in a little higher than that, and the iPhone just a little under the 720p. So pound for pound, display wise, the Lumia still takes it. I think the Super LCD 2 screen that's included on the 8X will actually look a little crisper than the Lumia and the iPhone 5, but the Lumia has some sort of magic trickery where, even though it's a captive screen, so they say you can still use your fingernails, for instance, or it'll still be responsive if you wear gloves, whatever the case is. So I think overall, I'd say the Lumia takes the bout in that field. Hardware wise, we've got the 8X comes in with a dual core 1.5 megahertz processor, and so does the Lumia, the 920, and the iPhone 5 comes with its A2. The A6, I'm sorry. I don't care to really measure the two. Windows Phone is heavily optimized, and you really, even on a single core 1.4 gigahertz processor, it wasn't laggy. Don't expect it to be inconsistent. The iPhone 4S was still fast. I doubt it'll be you'll notice it. To the average consumer, will notice the speed with the A6, maybe in browsing the web because of LTE, but whatever the case is, all these devices are fairly capable. So I think the hardware race is coming to an end. What I think when you want to measure up these devices against each other, the key is the design. That's what really counts now. So we've come to a part where the technologies are pretty much maturing fairly quick. iPhone is an iPhone at this point, and if you look at the 4, you look at the 4S, you look at the iPhone 5, you're seeing some consistency, which isn't a bad thing. That's why Apple's doing it, but it isn't a good thing if you're excited about tech like we are. Nokia has learned this trick as well. So if you look at the Lumia 800, you look at the Lumia 900, you look at the Lumia 920, it's a consistency. It's like I said, it's not a bad thing. Lumia is chasing Apple in terms of giving a device an identity. That's something they're learning from Apple. When people see that iPhone, they know it's an iPhone. When people see that Lumia, they know it's a Lumia. And HTC is new to this. This is something they've been struggling with. This is something the CEO of the company outwardly came out and say, hey, we need to address. When you see an HTC phone, you have no idea what it is. It just, there's so many of them. There's so much variance. They look so vastly different. I'm not sure if the introduction of the 8X and the 8S is what they'll base their identity off of. Hopefully, they said that's what they were going to do. They were going to scale back and really focus on personality and devices. So let's see where it goes from here. But I think overall the design of the 8X is nice. They went the polycarbonate route, which Nokia pioneered, and that's fine. Um, I still, me personally, it's a preference at this point. I prefer the design of the Lumia. The 8X is every bit as beautiful. And if you're a fan of polycarbonate like I am, man, it was a good thing to see HTC go that route. So design for design, I can't call it. It's all about your preference. Then the iPhone 5, we've seen the iPhone 5. You've seen it for 4 years now. Is it 4 or 3 years? When was the iPhone 4 introduced? I'd say 3 years. So it's the same. It's still a beautiful phone. The design is still awesome. It's just, some folks were hoping for something a little more groundbreaking. Design out of the way. I think design on these phones, when you comes to comparing them, when you go in a carrier and you look at these three phones, it's a personal choice. It's definitely a personal choice. Windows Phone 8 versus iOS. I think this is where the real meat of the comparison will be as well. Outside of design, this is where it comes down to. And Microsoft really, they were adamant about this in the first generation of Windows phones. We want the experience to be consistent across devices. So the platform will always have the limelight and the device should have the identity, which is fine. This is coming into a play now. LG, I don't know what they're doing with those phone side. I haven't seen anything from them. Samsung, they did the same scumbag thing they always do. They take what existed on Android and ported it over and say, hey, look what we get. No, not impressed with Samsung at all. Lumia, Nokia came with a very innovative design, and now here's HTC showing up with something completely different. So what's strong across all of these devices is the experience. The experience remains the same. Windows Phone 8 is the same for Nokia like it is for Samsung, like it is for HTC, which is kind of dope, because on Android you buy a phone based on the shell, how well the OEM shelled it out, how well they make it work, how pretty it looks. Here it's just, no, whatever hardware spec feels comfortable to you, that's what you get. Whatever looks more appealing to your eyes, that's what you get. And this is the way technology is supposed to work. You have a choice, but the experience is still awesome. Apple, it's an iPhone. No one complains about it either way. iOS is very mature, very, very reliable, very stable, very fast. That's fine. But so is Windows Phone 7.5, which was Mango, was very, very stable. Got some multitasking, and they're looking to improve that in Windows 8. One thing I will mention that's key here is we don't know much about Windows Phone 8 at all. And this, I think, is Microsoft ace in the hole. We've seen iOS. We've seen what iOS 6 looked like for a few months. Everyone had access to the dev preview. There isn't much groundbreaking features in it. It's more a lot of tweaks and less innovative things going on. So Windows 8 is really looking to leapfrog iOS. And even if you stack up Windows 7.5 against iOS 6, iOS 6 starts to sweat a little. It gets a run for its money. That, I think, is important to remember, because when Windows Phone 8 comes out, I fully expect Microsoft to leapfrog iOS 6 by far, completely knock them out of the water. And this is something that I think, if you've been following Windows Phone for a while, there's been a litany of Wall Street predictions saying, Windows Phone will overtake iOS in 2015. And a lot of people giving that the side eye. What are you talking about? That makes no sense. Now you start to see it, right? Apple's momentum is coming to a halt. They're innovating less and less. This was their opportunity to again put a wedge between them and the competition, and they didn't. Windows Phone 8 is going to be when we get our first insight to those predictions. People are waiting to see what it's about, what it can, and from the little tidbits we've been getting, Windows Phone 8 is really looking to be what sets the standard going forward for smartphones for the next generation of technology. So that's the real comparison. It'll be iOS 6 versus Windows Phone 8. That's where you can judge these devices. And then from there, you branch off into, okay, well, I'm definitely going with the Windows Phone. Which one? That's how we should compare these two devices, or this generation, I'm sorry, of technology. I really think overall, Microsoft is in a good place in terms of Apple. They can compete finally. As far as OEM goes, HTC, they showed up. It wasn't a home run like they needed, but it was enough for me to have faith in HTC again. Very nice devices. Nokia, they're not playing. They're coming hard. So it's a good time for consumers. As a consumer, this is the first time in a long time you've got a pick of very, very good devices. Before, it was only the iPhone. Nerds would pick Android, and geeks and Windows fanboys like myself would pick a Windows phone. But now things are maturing. Even Android, ICS, ice cream sandwich, is a decent OS now. It's looking a lot better. It's definitely usable. But this is a good time to be a consumer. You'll have a really nice pick as to what technology is, and where you want to go and how you want to use it. So, like I said, we need to really hang tight before we make a decision for this fall. What device you'll be going with if you're on the market? Hang tight. Let's see what Windows Phone 8 does, and I think a lot of people will be really excited what it has to offer. Although iOS and the iPhone 5 will still be the industry standard by all means, but like I said, first time in a long time there's a competitor, and a few of them at that. So, anywho, check out the site. This is Ramon, lifestylesdefined.com. Check us out on Twitter. Check us out on Facebook. And if you like the video, subscribe, give us a like. Helps it out a lot. Peace.